Welcome to Best Picture This, where it is always Oscar season. I'm Mike.
And I'm Brian. In this show, we reevaluate every Best Picture nominee from the 21st century and decide whether to keep it or kick it from its Oscar pedestal.
But today, Brian and I will emerge from our Oscar caves, wipe away the slate of nominees like so much eye makeup, and pop on a pair of sunglasses to face the bright lights of a brand new release. It's the biggest movie in the world right now. It goes by many names. You might know it as Vengeance, but the real title is The Batman. Directed by Matt Reeves. Here's the trailer.
Police! Hands up! Stay still! Get out of here!
Fear is a tool. But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning. I've been trying to reach you. Find the gun! This is a powder keg, and Ritter's the match.
I can take care of myself.
If this continues, it won't be long before you've nothing left. I don't care what happens to me.
It's only gonna get worse for you.
Whoa! Take it easy, sweetheart. Hear everything they say, ain't you?
Maybe we're not so different. Who are you under there?
I'm vengeance. What's black and blue and dead all over? You. Dear God.
I got you! I got you!
It's intense.
Has there been a more epic trailer?
That trailer received 34 million views within the first 24 hours it was released.
Oh, I believe it.
That's a good trailer. I mean, you still don't really know what happens in the movie because it's mostly a visual trailer, but oh well. This is a podcast only. This movie was promoted to a large degree. Tremendous effort, including a special Oreo cookie. Did you ever buy the Batman Oreos?
No.
Me either.
I can't see this.
I would love to
this
see
version of Bruce Wayne eating Oreos, though.
I could see the Paul Dano eating Oreos.
You think so? Do you think that he
Sweet
would
tooth?
twist them to separate the sides and then
Maybe.
lick the cream and then dip and dunk?
I see maybe a little more of a Cookie Monster. Who knows?
Okay, that's fair.
Robert Pattinson was cast as Batman, or the Batman. Some fans weren't a big fan of that.
What?
In fact, there was a change.org petition to reverse the decision.
That's stupid.
It's sort of like the... I think some people felt about Robert Pattinson as they do about like Justin Bieber. This is like Justin Bieber as Batman.
So they don't know any of his work since Twilight, then?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I have not seen Cosmopolis. I really want to see it. Have you seen that?
I have not either. No.
David Cronenberg, and it was based on a short novel by Don DeLillo, who's one of my favorite authors.
Nice.
Pattinson made $3 million for this movie. By the way, I was going to save this for later, but Jonah Hill was going to be in this movie, but he wanted $10 million. Batman's only making 3. No one can make more than Batman. Come on.
And it seems like this is the kind of thing where maybe you take a little bit of a pay cut because you want to be in a Batman movie.
Exactly.
It's going to be the biggest movie in the world. You know that.
Yes.
And you want your face on that screen.
Totally.
I mean, if you're an actor.
Yeah.
That's the point, right?
Apparently Jonah Hill has better things to do. Okay, so this movie has not been nominated for a single thing. It's pretty early on in 2022.
Yeah.
I will admit. But there's already big plans. Matt Reeves, the director, is also the executive producer. This is on IMDb. He's if you look at everything he's done, he's the executive producer of one episode of a new show in 2023 called Untitled, the Batman spinoff, which is going to be starring Colin Farrell as the Penguin, kind of like an origin story partly of him.
On HBO Max.
Yes. Another HBO Max show, which is going to be animated, a TV Y7 animated show called Batman Caped Crusader. There's a great tradition of Batman animated movies. In fact, I think this would be a good time to take a slight detour to look at this is an Esquire.com article that I found just from, it actually says it was, they got the date mixed up. It came out yesterday. It looked like, it says it came out on 10/3/2022, as though this was October. But
yeah, that can't be
some
right.
British person made this probably. Every single Batman movie ranked from worst to best. From Kapow to Kersplat is what the deck says.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to get into rankings.
We will.
Maybe at the end of this conversation.
Well, okay. Well, we'll wait till the end. All right. So, Reeves only agreed to make this movie if he had complete control. I always wonder how you get away with that. I mean,
I guess you make 3 really successful Apes movies and you get the keys.
I will make a 3-hour Batman movie, whether you like it or not. The writer is Peter Craig. He also wrote The Town, which I'm looking forward to revisiting from 2010. Mm-hmm. He wrote 2 Hunger Games movies. And he also wrote the new Top Gun Maverick movie, which has not been out as of this recording. And he is the writer listed for Gladiator 2. The budget was a cool 185 to 200 million, depending on how much you count the promotional dollars. And the box office, when I got it, was 258. I don't know what it is now. We're heading into weekend number 2 as we record this.
Yeah, they pretty much made all of their money back in the first weekend. And all of this afterward is going to be icing.
It's going to be profit gravy.
Yep.
Coming up in the show, we will ask each other 3 golden take inducing questions, and we'll talk trivia, and then we will make a wild, horrible guess about whether we think this will be one of the top 5 movies of 2022, even though it's the only movie I've seen from 2022 so far.
All right, so my first question to you is, it's time for another edition of everybody's favorite segment, Brian. Mm-hmm. Is this movie too long? That's the title of the segment. The movie is 2 hours and 57 minutes.
Did you see the extended version or the theatrical release?
There's not an extended version. Okay, all right. In this day and age, I couldn't be sure. So 2 hours and 57 minutes, is that too much? And if so, what would you cut?
Well, actually, I saw 256. If it went 257, I would have said
a little
too
bit
long.
Over the top. Yeah.
However, when I saw 256, I saw this movie. It was the 9:15 showing.
Wow. Okay.
That was ambitious.
Yeah, that's my bedtime.
It was bold.
You go out that late?
Not very often. To know that I'm going to be watching a movie till 12:30ish, because there are 15, 20 minutes of trailers before that.
Yeah. I can't do it because I know that I would be tired, and then if I'm tired, I'm not getting the full experience.
It's sort of like you're in a movie haze, you know. It's
definitely
cool. I would say that this movie was not too long at 256. What did you think?
It's too long.
Come on,
you
set me up for that.
You knew I was going to say it's too long.
I thought going in at 256 that it would be too long, but not at a single moment in this movie did I think like, oh my goodness, they're dragging this out. The only thing that I felt a little dragged out was Batman is basically moving in slow motion for a lot of his crime scene investigation moments. He's sort of like, everyone else seems to be walking at normal pace, and then he's walking like just half as slow. And and like there's a lot of long camera shots just on Robert Pattinson's face in the costume, and it's sort of like they're really milking some of that. But other than that, as far as like the plot and the other scenes, like I don't know. I didn't think it was too long.
I will say that the distinction for me is that I'm kind of with you in that I never hit a spot in this movie where I thought this has got to go, this is excess. But I did hit multiple spots in the movie where I felt like I'm not really as into this as I was in the first hour.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I've been sitting here so long.
I think it's because the last, we're not going to give any spoilers.
Yeah, this is going to be a spoiler-free app.
But I do think that there's some great stuff about the ending, and then there's some parts that are the weakest in the movie is in the last third of the movie. I don't think it was a matter of being too long, though. I think that there's just some flaws that maybe we'll talk about in our 2022 episode when we do this again, or what. I don't know if we'll do it again, but
yeah,
we'll see.
So I realized thinking about Batman last week that if you go down the list, starting with the Adam West Batman and kind of going all the way through, that you have Tim Burton's movie in '89 that's got the Joker as the villain. Every other Batman movie has 2 to 3 or sometimes 4 villains in it all the way through. And I'm wondering, is that necessary? And this movie, I was really thinking about the length, and I really think the easiest way to cut time off of it, even though I really like Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and I love Colin Farrell and this ridiculous makeup and his 1930s gangster accent, big fan of that. I think you
ridiculous, but you're a big fan of it?
Yeah, it's over the top, but
that's interesting. So you had some you're characterizing my movie taste last episode. I think that's one thing that I would say is something that you like. If it's got a ridiculousness to it, a lot of times you think it's good.
No. I think that if you can tell that somebody's kind of enjoying themselves playing this part, and because the makeup is so good, it almost you almost can't tell that it is Colin Farrell.
I was shocked it was Colin Farrell.
Yeah,
there was a moment when I was like, is that Robert De Niro? Like behind the bunch of makeup? Because there was one face that he made that I thought looked just like him. But
I think the thing is this is Riddler's movie. And if you cut out those other two, and in a way I can understand why they didn't, because especially if you're building this universe, it's kind of good to show a young Batman kind of beginning these relationships that we're going to see pay off later on. It's good for world building, but I think that you can cut all of their stuff, just make this a straight up Riddler villain story, and you don't really lose a whole lot. I mean, you lose one good car chase.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how the two threads actually intertwine. And now that you say it, I don't know that they do in a really dramatic way, to me at least.
Because then you also have John Turturro as Falcone.
Falcone, yeah. Is John Turturro a official Best Picture this good in everything
he's so
actor?
Good in this. He is so good in this. All the actors in this are great. I mean, it's like we said with Batman Begins. It levels up the movie by having this caliber of actor throughout.
It does, yeah.
But that's my spiel. I mean, I think that I didn't hit any parts where I was actively disliking it because of the length, but I really think because this is such a strong mood movie, if you gave me a really powerful hour and 45, tight 90, even 2 hours, get in, get out, leave me wanting more.
Yeah.
I would have left the theater excited rather than kind of.
It is harder to feel like wanting more if it's 3 hours, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. But most 3 hour movies, I feel like I see bigger reasons to cut than this one. Like this is, as far as like, if you just put all the 250 plus movies in a big pile, I think that this one justifies it a lot more than most that I've seen, I would say. By the way, Esquire put Batman Adam West as number 6 of all time, just in case you're curious. 1966.
I love that movie.
I've never seen it before. Robin looks like not very crime fightery in the pictures that I've seen of it. Okay, so my question is, the Riddler at some point live streams to, taunt Gotham. I don't think that's really a spoiler. So, because it does happen fairly early on. But the Joker does the same thing in The Dark Knight. And that was one place where I was like, man, this feels like, I can't tell if this is like an homage to The Dark Knight, or if this is like a ripoff of The Dark Knight, or if this is just like, well, maybe it wasn't even that creative when The Dark Knight did it, that this kind of like, on the news, we have to warn you, this will disturb you. And it's like the vertical cell phone with the blurred out edges and, you know, the Riddler or the Joker going like too close to the camera and looking like extra crazy and breathing heavy into the little, you know, camera. Did you feel like this movie did you feel like that feel owed a lot to The Dark Knight, and or did the movie owe a lot to The Dark Knight, or are we all just owing to Frank Miller?
There's
certainly some of the latter.
Yeah, in our sort of current and previous miniseries, 06 and 05, I've been talking about sort of the importance of post 9/11 in these movies. I think that this is a post Nolan Batman for sure. The movie can't exist without the tone and, you know, the world that was established earlier. But all of that kind of live streaming type stuff, the darkness, honestly, without getting political about it, I saw it as kind of a Trump analog, you know, kind of using social media as your tool to find like-minded, angry people in the world. And that's how you kind of build a fan base.
Yeah. Did you prefer, this is my question, part 1, part B. Did you prefer muscle car Batmobile of Robert Pattinson or tank Batmobile of Christian Bale?
I'm not really a car guy, as you know, so none of the Batmobiles
Yes,
really
you
get me
are.
that excited.
You drive a Ford Focus.
That is true. I am a Focus family. Rebecca also has a Ford Focus.
To paraphrase Will Ferrell.
But I guess I'll go with the muscle car.
Yeah, I came away thinking, at first when I saw he was getting into that, I was like, oh my goodness, Batmobile from Christian Bale is like
a tank.
Yeah, it's like so impressive. Like your eyes are glued to the car chase just because of the Batmobile. And we did our episode on Batman Begins, like all the, you know, the amazing lengths that they made to make it look so good. But the more I saw the muscle car, the more it grew on me. And it felt like certainly the right fit for this Batman and this Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, for this Batman, the guy who's going to be like, but this car's so cool. I'm going to go out. Everyone's going to be looking at my car. But really, it seems like the kind of, this Batman's kind of homegrown. You know, he's figuring it out as he goes. And I think that he could buy a cool muscle car and then pay somebody to
put a jet engine in it.
Exactly. Whereas the other Batmobile is, you know, custom made and Christian Bale.
Morgan Freeman can make a Batmobile.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman could do just about anything, as we know.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that you mentioned earlier that, you know, this is early on in the stage, but I am glad that Matt Reeves decided to set the movie in like after the origins.
I'm so glad.
It still hints at it, but I really didn't want to watch the kid walk out with his parents and have it all start over. So I think that was smart.
100% agree. When I saw initially that this was 3 hours long, I was thinking, if I need to watch 45 minutes of an origin story, I'm going to be fuming.
See, this is why I wasn't as big a fan of Batman Begins, because I'm kind of like over the origin story thing, but maybe it's partly because, I don't know. Who knows?
Because of Batman Begins.
Maybe
I mean, that's a contributor for sure. But at this point, who doesn't know Batman's origin story? All right, my next question.
Question 2.
When we talked about Batman Begins, in our 05 series, you can go back and listen to that episode. You were especially excited about the way that Nolan used practical effects. You know, he shot in Chicago as Gotham City, and he even had a real jet engine, as you were thrilled about.
So thrilled about that.
Built into the Batmobile. So I'm curious how this particular version of the character and this world stacked up.
Well, I will start with his suit, which is dynamite, I think. Especially the cowl. You get so much close-up of it that it's got to be pretty great. The costume is fantastic. I liked how Zoe Kravitz, who is the Catwoman character, is so unsuper, you know? It's another, like, you know, she has this like bodysuit like Catwoman from Michelle Pfeiffer, but
she doesn't have ears really.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a hat that kind of looks like ears.
And it's like a kind of a Walmart ski mask.
Yeah,
It's so
same thing with the Riddler. All these costumes, I guess,
they're all
except
homemade.
for the Batman,
Duct tape.
are things you can find in the store and put together.
Now, how did Robert Pattinson's character make that costume? That's a good question.
Listen, if Tobey Maguire could make a Spider-Man suit that looks like that
also is impossible.
Yeah.
But I would say that a lot of it didn't really feel like, I didn't even think about the special effects in this movie. Like, they seem so natural, but it wasn't also, it didn't feel like they were trying to be supernatural at all in it. And I liked that idea. It was very like real world noir kind of feel, the whole movie. What did you think of it?
So there are definitely plenty of practical effects. The car chase with the penguin, for instance, is real. He doesn't actually jump through fire, though. So that's one thing that's not real.
I assume that part was in the trailer, but no spoiler.
It is, for sure.
Batman gets in a car chase, does not die. That is maybe a spoiler, half a spoiler.
The scene where they're in a darkened hallway and people are shooting at Batman with sort of machine guns, and every time the muzzles blast, you see Batman, but then it's black when they stop. That's all lit naturally. Those are not
very cool
computerized lights. So that's really cool too. But there's also a ton of green screen. Like all the sunset shots are all green screen. And I just think it looks awesome. And I think that when you combine it with this score, which I feel like might be one of my favorite superhero movie scores.
It's tremendous.
The score is so good. It pumps up that mood, and Reeves has shown that he can do this before. With War for the Planet of the Apes looks
I haven't seen
insane.
any of the Planet of the Apes movies. I just
the effects are crazy.
Really, I wasn't really interested in them because I was turned off by the old ones.
Oh God, yeah, they're not even in the same.
But it does make, now that I've seen Matt Reeves doing this, it does make me kind of curious about him.
But even if you look back in his career, Cloverfield is another one.
I haven't seen Cloverfield.
He uses special effects, but in a way that doesn't sacrifice that tactile feel that you want from either a horror movie or something sci-fi like Apes, where you're getting a lot of close-ups of them talking. You want to believe that they can exist, and I think that he nails that. So you can't even see the seams between. Not only in Pattinson's suit, how did he make it, but in between the practical and the computer effects in this movie. And man, it's great. It's a great combo.
It is. It looks great, the movie, and sounds great. I thought that also there was enough strangeness to the score that I felt, that part of me was satisfied. I'm always looking for something to shake up, but it also had the power of the strings and the darkness of everything with it felt like a traditional score with another element on top. Of course, you can't go wrong with adding a little Kurt Cobain in there or something in the way. My second question to you is, so Reeves and Pattinson both described Batman as an insomniac who can't delineate between the Batman persona and his recluse rock star public identity. My question to you is Robert Pattinson the best Batman?
The best Bruce Wayne?
The best Batman.
The best Batman. It's so hard
You're
to
thinking
say.
about
It's
it.
so
You're
hard to
thinking
say.
about it, which says something, doesn't it? I mean,
It says something.
The fact that we are even talking about him being possibly the best Batman after all of the change.org petition. I mean, I didn't know about that until I read about it. But you know what I mean? A lot of people have been Batman. And
they have,
to think that you pluck out Robert Pattinson to be this character, and he's even in the conversation, is, I think, quite an accomplishment.
I think for me, it kind of says more about the arc of this as a property, as IP, because personally, I think I probably like Bale better. A little more self-aware, a little more humor in that character. The duality between Bruce Wayne and Batman is, stark. This one, there really isn't any duality at all.
Right.
He has the same facial expression from minute 1 to minute 257 in this movie, and it's just a straight line on that mouth. I mean, that's it. And that is cool, though, because for so long in this franchise, we've seen different kinds of Batman takes, but usually you have that Playboy persona thrown in.
Yeah.
In this one, he throws all that out, and I think that change is what's exciting, maybe more than Pattinson's performance, even though I do
that
like
it's
it.
new.
Yeah.
That's what's so exciting about. I mean, I don't know. I just always have loved Batman, as so does everybody, right? But Batman, and really with all the superhero characters, but there's a mythology of Batman, and it's so malleable. You have the jokey, everything on the spectrum, and yet it's still Batman. It's still recognizable because he is a symbol, like Christian Bale said in Batman Begins. And but to me, the fact that they did decide to blend the two, or to meld the two so well, you knew when Batman is in his suit, you knew that he was still Bruce Wayne, whereas it's very different. Christian Bale and Christian Bale's two characters, they do feel like they are totally different people. And I thought this was an improvement. And to me, I
really
was,
three different people if you think about it, because he
has
has the
behind
persona
the scenes
he puts
with Michael
on.
Caine and
Exactly,
Morgan Freeman
yeah.
too. It's totally true. Because his character as like Bruce Wayne is almost more like a Jason Bateman, type of a
Patrick Bateman.
Yeah. Sorry. Not Jason Bateman.
But he's funny too.
Different guy.
He's got a thing.
Yeah, less of a psycho. But, so I came away from that. My immediate thought was he actually better than The Dark Knight? And I would say that's my favorite combo right now.
So I was going to ask you kind of the same question here. Emo Batman. We got to talk about emo Batman. And I think that maybe my favorite moment is early on in the movie, the first time that we hear...
It better be early because we're not doing spoilers.
It's early. The first time that we hear Nirvana's Something in the Way, when we're kind of just getting introduced to this character in this world. And there are so many great shots in that opening sequence, and they use a lot of them in the trailer. But it's early on, we're hearing this music. He kind of goes home after his night out, and we see him in the Batcave, and he's reviewing the footage from his recording contact lenses, which is cool.
It is cool.
He's looking at clues and
sci-fi.
Yeah, it makes it more of a detective story. But then Alfred comes down, and
played by Andy Serkis,
and he turns down the music, and we realize, oh, this song wasn't in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
This guy's just listening to this brooding emo music. Not even really emo. People are just saying that online, but that's more of like a brooding kind of dark rock.
So 1991, Something in the Way.
But Batman listens to Nirvana in this world. Mm-hmm. That's not in the soundtrack. So I just like that this is a character that's very visibly damaged. And that's what's exciting to me for this character.
Breaking new ground with a character that everybody knows everything about is, it's cool. It just shows like this is never going to get stale. You can see there's 15 or 16 Batman movies on this Esquire article, and there's 15 of them. And I mean, you scroll down through the pictures of them, and it's like, I don't know, it changes every time. And the comics are this to an nth degree, where he's fighting like totally supernatural characters, and then he's being like the retired, coming out of retirement, gruff,
year 100.
Yeah, gruff, like Frank Miller guy. So
I'll be curious to see how it evolves, though, because we're kind of talking about how him being younger is important for this version of the character. And the movie's about kind of his arc from vengeance to justice, hope. So I'm kind of curious, are they gonna make this character sort of realize that, oh, I could use the Bruce Wayne persona as a way to further my hero goals, rather than just having this, narrow-minded view of this is all I am, this is all I can be.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there is a really meaningful arc with Bruce Wayne in this movie, and I don't really remember that there is not that much of it, but I'm glad about that. If you're gonna you go to a movie, you go to a Batman movie, you want to see Batman most of the time. Bruce Wayne is not that interesting of a dude compared to actually to Batman himself.
He is Batman, though.
I know.
And you have to ask yourself, why is Bruce Wayne compelled to do this, which is unnatural, weird freak behavior?
It is actually, that's another thing that I think that this movie does well, and that The Dark Knight did to some degree, is, well, actually that Frank Miller does in his comics too, that we think of Batman as someone who's like always been there and is like sort of understood to be part of Gotham, but seeing how people react to him, like, yeah, it is really weird that someone would dress up in a costume and go around like that. Like a cosplayer doing that, you know, you wouldn't take him that seriously. You'd almost like feel sorry for the guy. But this guy happens to also be really good at beating everybody up. So he's like cool. He's like bad, you know? So
if you have a wingsuit, then
you better also be able to beat people up.
Yeah. But I think that it leaves a lot of room for growth story-wise, because is he going to incorporate the Bruce Wayne persona more as he incorporates gadgets, which aren't really that big of a thing in this world? And also I watched Casino Royale for our 2006 series recently. Saw a lot of parallels between the two of those too.
Yeah.
Because in that you get to see sort of an unpolished, unperfect, messy Bond.
Yeah.
And you see the same thing here. And it kind of gives you, I mean, that was what, a five movie arc. And by the end of it, he's a very, very different character than he was in that first one, which I kind of didn't even realize when I saw No Time to Die. But then watching Casino Royale again, totally different character.
It's another mythology being shaped somewhat. I think that's what Casino Royale did well. That I don't think the Bond character evolved a ton, you know, in the previous 100 movies, was it? 200 movies?
Something like that.
My third question to you, Colin Farrell. He had a tough decision to make for this movie. He's supposed to be fat and scarred up face.
Yeah.
He chose to go with the fat suit as opposed to gaining a ton of weight. It's a tough call. He had to gain weight for the TV series The North Water, which I have not seen. So he decided to go with the fat suit. He tested the costume at a Burbank, California Starbucks, where he got, quote, a couple of stares, unquote, ordering a latte in character as the Penguin. So my question to you, if you, in a movie,
fat suit or gain
were
weight,
being paid $2 million, would you wear the fat suit and be put on makeup like, you know, hours and hours a day?
Yes.
Or would you just like say, I'm on the Cheese Whiz diet for
the first one,
a month?
I would put on the makeup, because that's what you do when you perform. You put on a costume and you pretend to be somebody else.
What if Matt Reeves is like, Mike, this is not working. We got to get you to gain 100 pounds.
100? No.
100 pounds.
No, I'm not going to gain 100 pounds. If he asked me to gain...
We're going with $4 million now, not $2 million.
So now you're just trying to see where my limit is.
I'm seeing where... How much are you going to sell your body for?
Man.
Mike, you're getting $5 million.
Do you know how long it would take to gain 100 pounds or lose it? How much time are we talking about
For some
here?
people, you have to do it in approximately 45 days.
100 pounds in a month and a half? I don't believe that. I don't think it's possible.
Hey, Hollywood, they have magic. They screw around with their bodies like this. $5 million?
It doesn't seem healthy, and it doesn't seem necessary.
$10 million. You got Jonah Hill money to put on 100 pounds.
I love how Jonah Hill's the high watermark now for paid actors.
You got half of a Julia Roberts salary.
I guess if it was the only way that I could make that 10 million.
If you don't do this, then we're going to hire Brian McMillan because he's going to gain 100 pounds.
I honestly,
for $1 million.
I would be surprised if any actor has gained 100. I think that you're off your mark there. If it's 50, then I'll do 50. But 100's unrealistic.
50 for $2 million? Anyway, we can move on here. Did you have a third question for me?
Of course, I've got another question for you. So are you very familiar with the world of Batman? And if not, did you feel like you missed any connections or references?
I mean, I've seen a lot of Batman movies. I've read some comic books. When we're talking about Maroni and Falcone and like who backstabbed whom and, some of the twists and turns, yeah, I'm a little bit of a lazy, super intricate plot follower. Sometimes I've learned this partly because of this podcast. I just feel like I know who is supposed to feel what in those kind of things, and I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. Like
when the riddles are tough enough, you're like, they'll let me know what this means.
Yeah,
I don't need to think about it.
Some of the double cross, it feels like Matt Reeves said this was like the most complicated plot he's ever had and all this stuff.
Maybe chop an hour off, it'd be less complicated.
What about you? Did you feel like that intricacy of the politics of it was
not so much the politics, but I did notice
the double crossing, I guess, what I mean by the politics of it.
No, not really. But I noticed that there were a lot of things that reminded me of other video games or comics or whatever from the Batman universe that I felt like you don't have to be familiar with to follow this movie.
Yeah.
But I think that Reeves rewards you if you do. So I just wrote a couple things down, like the suit you mentioned.
This is the list that you made. Because you make a list in every movie, right?
Every movie, I make a long list. You mentioned the suit, how it looks tattered and beaten up, which I thought was cool. And in the other Batman movies, you don't really see that. It always somehow
Pretty
looks
slick.
Yeah, the leather's brand new. But Arkham City, the video game, I really felt like the suit was kind of modeled after the suit that he wears in that. Reeves in an interview said that he initially based the story off of the Long Halloween graphic novel, which Batman is kind of chasing a serial killer, but he goes to Arkham Asylum and kind of goes through the rogues gallery of villains there, and that almost like a Hannibal Lecter kind of thing. Like he talks to each for some guidance until he finds them. And I thought that was kind of cool too. So the detective angle that you get from a game like Arkham City, I don't think that they've really done in a Batman movie before.
This is the most detective-y that he is in a Detective Comics, world. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, me too. I thought that was a really good ad.
2 reviews that compared it to 7.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. But maybe the most interesting one is there's a comic called Batman Venom, graphic novel. And basically the idea is he's fighting Bane in this comic book, and somehow he finds this, this drug, this elixir that makes him stronger, and he's able to face like Bane, who I think is on it all the time, if I remember correctly. But he gets addicted to this.
He gained 100 pounds.
He gained
Pure
100
muscle.
pounds, yeah, Tom Hardy. But he gets addicted to it, and basically the storyline for this graphic novel is that Batman becomes basically a drug addict and has to, work his way through that. But at the end of this movie, I think that we get a little bit of a hint toward that Venom when, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a point where Bruce Wayne is kind of passing out and then breaks out a green liquid.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if that's kind of a clue of where we're going to go story-wise later on in this franchise, because I do think that they're setting up this character to be very damaged and the kind of character who would slip into being, into drug addiction, which Christian Bale's character definitely would not.
Nope.
And I think that would be a really interesting way for this thing to go.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely some dark options. That was something that I expected. First of all, when I saw the trailer, I thought this was going to be the first rated R Batman based on what the trailer was. Matt Reeves, there was a lot of that was never on the table really. And so they made sure that it wasn't, but it actually, I don't know. There was something that felt darker about The Dark Knight than this. Even though the world of it is darker, there's like no bright light, there's no like, so in The Dark Knight, you have the world of his, the boardroom and the Morgan Freeman and the Michael Caine scenes.
Yeah.
Those are like regular guy everyone can relate to, and those are kind of more bright and light. You don't ever have that kind of relief in this movie. But yet somehow, I think it's because the Joker is just, Paul Dano is great as Riddler. Yep. I don't really have any complaints. But the Joker, as good as he is in this, the Joker is even more tremendous, more like surreal. And he's even more, his psychopath, psychology feels even more brutal. He's getting banged around by Batman in the interrogation room. Like, these are like kind of hard scenes to watch. It never quite gets that way in this movie, in my opinion. So which one is darker? What did you think?
I think tonally this one is definitely
Yeah.
darker. Content,
Maybe less disturbing, even though there's a serial killer. I don't know.
yeah, I think they're about the same. I just can't see them releasing a Batman movie, at least not yet. We're not in the Logan stage, if you want to compare it to Marvel, of them just saying we're going to sacrifice everybody under 18 or 7, whatever that age.
Under 12.
Is that the limit?
No, it's 17, but
17, yeah. Where you're going to sacrifice all of those ticket sales. I just don't see it happening. But there was never a time where I felt like this was bordering on too much or that it was disturbing
I didn't think so
or
either.
graphic.
I kind of expected from the trailer that maybe it would kind of flirt with it, but I don't really think it did.
Mm-hmm.
Ready for a little trivia here?
I think we got to rank them.
Yes. Okay, let's look at the Esquire.
Okay.
I have not seen all of them. I mean, I didn't really bother to keep up with all of these from like the 90s as much.
Mm-hmm.
But well, how do you want to go about it? Do you want to Let me just read what Esquire had.
Okay.
And you tell me if you think this is dumb. Batman and Robin from 97 is the worst at 15.
Yeah, okay.
Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice 2016. I never saw that one. I kind of like took a chill from Batman for a while because I don't know. There's something about like
and those Affleck movies are not standalone.
I wasn't that excited about. Yeah, that's true. They're part of the DC universe.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
And I guess 16, they're counting animated movies in this, huh?
They are. Batman Forever 95 with Val Kilmer. This is with Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
Number 12, they had Zack Snyder's Justice League included as the Batman in the Batman franchise. Number 11 is animated The Killing Joke from 2016. Did you ever see that?
If I had, it's been a while.
I have not. Batman Returns, 1992. This funny. The one critic apparently at the time said, "Why isn't this movie called Catwoman?" Because Michelle Pfeiffer kind of stands out more than.
Oh
anyway.
yeah.
What did you think of Danny DeVito's Penguin versus Colin Farrell's Penguin?
Oh God, Danny DeVito's Penguin. That movie is so ridiculous. And I remember even at the time, I kind of felt like this is a bit much. Even as a kid, like they've gone a little far.
Number 9, Batman Year One animated from 2011. Again, I haven't seen that one.
Nah.
Great
book though.
They put the Batman 2022 as number 8.
Okay.
I think that's a little low.
We'll see.
Right below 1989 Batman, Michael Keaton.
Yep.
I really want to rewatch that one. I have it, but I haven't seen it in a long time. Number 6, Batman Adam West, 1966.
Love it.
Do you think that's better than the Batman 2022? They're very different.
Yeah, they could not be any more different. It's a mood thing, Depend.
Yeah.
Are you looking for jokes? Or are you looking for
Holy hole
darkness?
in a donut, Batman?
I mean, he gets attacked by a shark and he busts out a can of shark repellent.
Shark repellent bat spray.
It's the best. I love it.
It's so ridiculous that it's
No,
great.
it's a comedy. That
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
is
yeah.
definitely a comedy.
Number 5, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 1993. It's another animated
They always
one.
put that high on these
They
lists.
put all these animated ones in here. It's kind of interesting. Mark Hamill is the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4. Okay, now we're getting serious, right?
Yep.
Number 4, The Dark Knight Rises, 2012.
Interesting.
I'm looking forward to revisiting that one. I went in with expectations almost as high as going back to see Star Wars.
Yeah.
And
They
came
put that
away-
over Burton's Batman and this Batman.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
I think that is totally wrong.
Yeah. I think
As far as the Pattinson one, the Matt Reeves one, I think is better than that.
Yeah.
Batman Begins, they had as number 3, which I also prefer this 2022 over Batman Begins. If you had to only rank those two, what would you say?
I put Begins over this.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
That's incorrect. Number 2. What do we have left?
There's The Dark Knight, and there is... Did they put some animated one as the second
The
best?
Lego Batman movie.
Oh, Lego Batman.
2017.
Yeah, I forgot about Lego Batman, and that actually is
I've
great...
never seen it. Is it that good?
It's great, yeah.
Holy
I mean,
cow.
I probably wouldn't put it in my top 3, but it's great. I mean, I would put it over Batman Returns,
And then number 1.
probably over Rises also.
Really? Huh. And number 1, of course, The Dark Knight. Fantastic suit. The greatest villain probably since Darth Vader in cinema history. It's number 1.
I think these could change from day to day, but I think I would go Dark Knight number 1, Batman Begins number 2. I'd probably go Burton's Batman #3. And that might be because of nostalgic reasons. I'm not sure. And then I really did struggle between 66 Adam West and this one as my next. I put the Batman under it because I felt like it's more weighty or whatever. But honestly, my Letterboxd review, come to think of it, is higher for Batman the movie 66.
Really?
So I don't know why I don't just follow that. And then I went Dark Knight Rises, and then I went Batman Returns, and then everything after. I didn't include the animated, and then everything after that, the Joel Schumacher and Ben Affleck. I will say I haven't seen the Joel Schumacher Batman movies in a long time, but I kind of want to revisit them.
I kind of do too, actually. I mean, again, I'm just a sucker for these iconic images. Like Batman Begins, there's things I didn't like about it, but again, Batman as Gargoyle, like looking
there's
over the
none of
city,
that in the Schumacher.
Cool.
Those are like neon lights, spandex. They're ridiculous.
Mr. Freeze.
They are one-liners. I mean, but in a way, that's more similar to the Adam West Batman. I mean, they're going for
like
something over the top and wacky and cartoonish.
Yeah.
And we've been in decades now of Batman being incredibly self-serious and having no room for humor.
Somebody is going to revisit the jokey Batman and go wild that way, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think so. We might need to wait a bit for it, but yeah, I agree.
Okay, so a little bit of trivia. This was actually in production for Ben Affleck again, and they were going to do the whole thing pretty much in Arkham. But so that's interesting.
Okay.
We'll see. I bet that's going to happen in the in some of the shows or a second movie. Reeves tried to include Batman in every scene, and it pretty much is pretty close, which again I think is very smart. Matt Reeves listened to Nirvana a lot while he was doing this, and that's why they chose to include Something in the Way. He was also inspired by Michael Corleone.
Yeah, I could see
I could see that too. Also influenced by Chinatown.
Okay,
a little bit, mostly because it's noir, I guess. I don't know, but I could see that a little bit. And then also he was influenced by All the President's Men, which I threw that in there just because I love it.
You love it. Yeah.
I love it. To prepare for this movie, you love these kind of trivias. Paul Dano researched serial killers and chose to read this material in public places because it was so disturbing. He didn't want to read it alone.
Oh, God.
He was so scared of the serial killer books that he was reading.
It's good marketing. Yeah.
Zoe Kravitz was cast as Catwoman following a screen test with Robert Pattinson. Of course, she was a shoo-in though because she was the Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie. So,
wow! Yeah,
you can't deny that connection.
So Will Arnett should have been Batman here.
I
not
guess
Pattinson.
so. I guess so. She also auditioned for Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises, but was rejected. Anne Hathaway, right?
Yep.
She also studied footage of cats and lions fighting to develop her movements. You like that?
Nope.
You said that. I loved this trivia so much. I sent it to you in Facebook Messenger, and
yeah. And I think I responded that I would have watched.
I was just trying to get a rise out of you.
2-minute YouTube video of cats, and that's it. That's all you need.
No, you got to go to the zoo. You got to go to the safari.
You have to live with them for a couple weeks.
You got to start, licking milk out of bowls. Anna de Armas was considered. I could definitely see that. Alicia Vikander, also I could see that. I thought Zoe Kravitz did a good job. One shot, don't want to totally give it away, but they took 200 takes of it, which I always respect. Going into 200 takes.
200 takes.
It's a Batman. It's a Batman v Riddler shot.
Okay.
The sound editor Will Files or Files, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He worked on the car chase first. That was the first thing that they did, and he used a bottle rocket sound for as the basis for how the car sounded. And then there's a supercharger sound that he used a World War II Jeep in reverse.
Okay.
Which, that was obvious.
Yeah.
The early
car chases, I like the image of the car blasting through the flames. The whole rest of it, I don't know what it is. I just cannot get into a car chase.
Yeah,
I'm just not interested.
Well, except for Mad Max.
Yeah, I got to rewatch
You
Mad
didn't
Max,
even
I
like
guess.
that one, did you? terrible. I think there's always a weird balance with car chases of how much do you show like the in tight, in the car, right outside the car, and how much do you like zoom out and watch it like zoom through the streets. And this one is very in tight, kind of claustrophobic car chase, which I thought was kind of interesting. It didn't bother me that way. You've seen so many that it does get a little tiresome sometimes. That one maybe was a little too long. Original screening was a 4-hour version.
Good Lord.
Let's see. Pattinson and Reeves expressed interest in introducing a Robin character in a future, I don't know if it's in the TV show or movie. Calendar Man, Court of Owls, Hush, Mr. Freeze could all be coming soon. So maybe our ranking Batman counts as keep it or kick it. I mean, do you think this is a best picture caliber type of a movie?
No. I think it'll be in my top 10 for the year. It'll definitely be one that when I look back on 2022, I'll want to remember.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot. And I think that the more we talked about it, my enthusiasm kind of grew.
Okay, interesting.
But I really kind of went back and forth between what star rating to give this, because I kind of think of a 4-star as great. That's my great line.
Which is also totally vague.
Yeah, I know. These star ratings are nonsense, but I try to be as consistent as I can with my own system.
If I read a review from somebody who doesn't give a star rating, I'm like, that's a cop out.
Yeah.
But then I don't even do Letterboxd because I don't want to give stars.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that there are great things about this movie, but the length really does bother me. I think that it kind of overstays its welcome a little bit. I don't think that it warrants being this long. I think some things in the end could get cut. I kind of feel like there are 2 endings here.
Yeah, I agree. The ending did not thrill me, or parts of the ending. Won't get into it.
Yeah. And I felt that there were a few, without getting into details, there are a few moral complications having to do with the difference between justice and vengeance.
Yeah.
And I think that they're really interesting. They're interestingly set up. And then I think that they take some real easy outs to skirt having to make a definitive decision one way or another how to approach it.
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing with trilogies to me, because I read somewhere that the second movie of a trilogy is often going to be the best because there's the fewest narrative demands. You're not setting up. Like Dark Knight, I think, is a perfect example. You don't have to kind of begin the story. You don't have to end the story. It's that's why Empire Strikes Back kind of works so well in number 2 or number 5 out of that 3, 4, 5, 6. And I felt like they kind of started later, which helped give some skip over some of the boring stuff in this one. But I'll be interested to see what the next movie does. But I guess again, because it's kind of like a serialized it is. For infinity kind of a character.
And culturally, we've already gone through the origin story. So that's kind of what I mean. The saying that there are more narrative threads here that we have to follow, that's self-imposed. You could have just trimmed it back, and then you would just have one really strong focused narrative instead of 1 B plots.
It's true. I mean, I think it would be interesting to see a 2-hour cut of this and compare. Again, the 3-hour didn't bother me, but...
Yeah. 3 hours fun. I mean, it looks great. It's a good world to live in. For
more close-ups of Robert Pattinson. You can't go wrong.
I guess so.
So I don't know what movie we're teasing next because it's kind of like in between the 2006s. But we're going to try to release this one soon so that way people can.
I think the next episode after this will be Click. Adam Sandler's Click.
Oh yeah.
Comedy opus. Until then, find us at bestpicturethis.com, on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you listen. We're also on Facebook and Twitter at Best Picture This. And for 16 years of golden takes, head over to Letterboxd/Mike Cavalieri.
To support the show, check out patreon.com/bestpicturethis.
Thanks to WNZF and the illustrious Mark Gilliland for producing. Also, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show.
Thanks for listening to this episode, a show by 2 guys who drive cars that are the exact opposite of the Batmobile.